Hey team, here we are back again for another YouTube debrief. Today we're going to focus on two things, some weight placement and then mostly mark roundings. So I'll put a couple clips together to kind of illustrate these things for you. Alright, so listen to my commentary
positioning. Porter has the traveler bar in between his legs. If you look, him and Brady are at this almost in the same position, fore and aft in the boat. Just a little bit of heel because it's very light wind. Nicely done. All right, look at Mason and Molly going downwind, digging that rail in just a little bit. Centerboard up all the way out. Jib held out. Molly's looking back for breeze, not forwards. Looking good. Caden and Savannah looking pretty good going downwind. Maybe a little more heel. Also make sure we keep that jib sheet out of the water. It's hard to do sometimes, but anything dragging the water is no good. Savannah looking back. Oh, now he's getting a little rocky rolly.
All right, let's watch this mark round in here. So see how quickly Caden's trimming in the main. Probably a little too soon. You want the main to come in as...
Probably trimmed in a little quickly there.
You want it to come
trimmed in way before we were close hauled. Now Mason's got to contend with my waves. Sorry about that.
So you want the main to come in as the boat's rounding up, and then the jib comes in just a little behind that. So very light luff until you're close hauled, and then trimmed in hard.
All right, Brendan has found himself kind of on the outside of the pinwheel, so that's not great.
Okay, watch how Brendan gets out of the situation.
If I were Brendan, I would foot off here a little bit. Obviously, he can't tack, but if he foots off some, then he can get out from underneath the collier. Nice work. Now, collier had to avoid a starboard tack boat as well, but that's exactly what he should have done. Nice work. Nice work.
Let's watch John's rounding here. So jib comes in really soon. Jib comes in really soon, main all the way in. Probably started a little too close, so he couldn't round.
All right. Brendan
wide
has
and
inside.
tight.
I would probably be a little wider since they're giving him the room.
So that's an example.
Heels the boat. I'm gonna come out of field of view here in a second.
That's an example if the boat is giving you the
Overall,
room.
pretty good rounding from where he started.
You want to take it.
I would have started a little wider since I had the room, and then we could exit even tighter. All right, so 23 has room on 2. Let's see how 2 and 22 handle that situation. So Jed went really wide. He's going to try to put it in there. So if I were Jed and 2, I would have tried to slow down just a little bit more, and then he could have easily put it right inside.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see how this leeward mark comes in. Watch Caden. I believe that's Caden. No, that's not. Yep, that's Caden. So I would say maybe exiting a little too far away from the mark. Work on the wide then tight. And again, have the main come in as the boat is turning up, and then the jib just barely behind it. Now, look at 4. Had a really nice rounding. See how they put themselves inside of 8. That's a perfect example of how the perfect wide and tight will give you the opportunity to pass a boat. Now he would need to tack here to get out of his bad air.
All right. Let's use 19 here. Brady and Sam as an example. They sailed way too far outside, and now it's hard for them to get back around the mark. And they left themselves a huge amount, so in between themselves and the mark. So you're sailing extra distance. So try
also notice Brady sitting a little too far back in the boat. Need to switch sides. You get on the high side.
Given the competition an
the
extra
crew
leg.
gets on the low side.
Leg up, I should say.
And put the traveler bar in between your feet.
Emily, you are fouling them right now.
So that was an example of him not being able to get around the mark without touching Emily, and he was inside. So that's a foul because she didn't give him enough room.
Emily, you owe 360, please.
Now this is just a cluster here, and it's a good example of people not giving enough room. We're going to go over that here.
This was a downwind start to simulate a very, very crowded leeward mark rounding.
So you see all these boats that are to our screen to
I
the
think we're gonna
right
have
of the
a
mark.
little mark rounding, so
Those
we should
are
accomplish that.
all those boats are going to need room on all these boats to the left of the mark. So these boats need to look at that scenario approaching and be ready to give a lot of room. I think what happened is
Jed, I don't think you have room on Emma.
I don't think they were anticipating that. So watch how this turns into a serious pinwheel of bumper boats.
Emma, did Emily have room on you when you enter the circle?
Holy smokes. So there's so many fouls here, it's hard to count.
My gosh.
And
So this will be an example of what not to do.
it was caused by, one, a lack of communication, two, the outside boats certainly not anticipating how much room all the inside boats would need. Obviously, in a normal racing scenario, we probably wouldn't have 20-some boats approaching the leeward mark at the same time, but you might very well have 10 or 12. So, similar thing applies. This is just on a bigger scale.
Outside, you're not giving enough room right now, I can tell you that.
And this looks like the exact same scenario has arrived here. If I were Ben there in 16, I probably would have approached the mark a little wider. They had the opportunity to come in wide then tight, and now they've given up a whole bunch of space here. So 14
So this is a very good example
certainly
of
positioned in front of them, and now watch the carnage happen.
Room.
Brendan didn't round the mark. So again, thinking about your rounding halfway down the lake. Start talking to people. Think about how much room you're going to need to give, how we can get out of that scenario, maybe fall behind a little bit so we can take advantage of that pinwheel. Get behind the pinwheel. Let those boats just float all the way around the mark, wide then tight. Next thing, you have the advantage on all of those boats. Overall, great practice. I appreciate the hard work and the light wind. I also very much appreciate the teamwork that everybody showed, helping everybody put our boats together. Get our boats taken out of the water and torn down. We probably saved ourselves 35 minutes. We could have stayed out in the water 35 minutes later, especially if there's more breeze. So thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.